Marcus Aurelius explains why no one can actually hurt you. Have you ever asked yourself, truly asked, why pain feels so personal? Why the words of another can cut deeper than a blade? Or the silence of someone you love can feel heavier than iron? We all have. And yet, there's something strange about this experience of being hurt. It seems like it comes from the outside. Someone insults us, betrays us, ignores us. But what if I told you that no one can actually hurt you? Not really. Not unless you let them. That sounds absurd, right? But that's exactly what Marcus Aurelius believed, and not just believed, he lived it. And by the end of this video, you might start to believe it too, because what I'm about to show you could change how you relate to every insult, betrayal, and disappointment that ever comes your way. Let's start with something personal. Imagine this. You walk into a room, excited, confident, glowing with something important to say, but someone scoffs, maybe they laugh, maybe they roll their eyes. Suddenly, you shrink. You feel it, your chest tightens, your cheeks flush, your thoughts spiral. What happened? Did they reach inside you and twist your heart? Of course not, but it feels like they did. That feeling, where does it come from?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, had a radical answer. He said, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. What does that mean? He's not saying harm doesn't exist. He's not denying pain, cruelty, or loss. But he's pointing to something deeper, the space between stimulus and response, between what happens and what you decide it means. You see, Marcus believed that you are not your body, your reputation, or even your emotion. You are your faculty of judgment, your mind, your reason. And though someone might strike your body, humiliate your name, or abandon your love, they can never touch the part of you that chooses how to interpret that event. That inner citadel, as he called it, is yours, and no one can invade it unless you open the gates. That's the foundation of Stoic philosophy, and it's also the ultimate armor in a world full of slings and arrows. But this isn't just ancient theory. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been insulted in a language you don't understand? Maybe someone cursed at you in a foreign tongue. Did you feel hurt? Probably not. Why? Because the words had no meaning to you. They bounced off. But if someone says the exact same thing in your native tongue, certainly it stings. Why? Because your mind stepped in and assigned value. It told you, this is bad, this is humiliating, this means something about me. But that interpretation, it's optional. You made it, whether you were aware of it or not. So what does this mean for your life? It means that every time you feel hurt, there's a chance to reclaim your power. Not by denying your feelings, not by pretending to be a robot, but by remembering. Feelings are signals, not dictators, and you don't have to believe every judgment your mind throws at you. Marcus would say, examine it, test it, ask yourself, is what this person said actually true? And even if it is, does it change who I really am? And here comes the bombshell. Most of the time, the people who hurt us aren't even trying to hurt us. They're lost in their own pain, their own fears, their own battles. They lash out, not because of you, but because of them. And yet we take it personally. We carry their wound like it's our own. but why would you let someone else's storm flood your home? Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but what about real harm? What about loss, trauma, injustice? Marcus wasn't naive. He buried children. He led an empire through plague and war. He knew suffering intimately. And yet, even through that, he insisted, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. So let me ask you a difficult question. What pain are you holding on to right now that actually belongs to someone else? What insult, what ghost of a past betrayal, what imagined judgment is still echoing in your mind, not because it's real, but because you've kept it alive? It's hard to let go. The ego wants to defend itself. It wants to be right. It wants to win. But Marcus would argue, what do you win by being right about your suffering? You win more suffering. You win more chains. But if you shift your perspective, if you decide to reclaim your judgment, you win freedom. And that's a kind of victory no one can take from you. So next time someone disrespects you, next time you feel that familiar burn in your chest, stop, breathe, ask yourself, did they really hurt me? Or did I hurt myself by believing their words? That moment of clarity is the beginning of real strength. And maybe the most radical act of all is this, to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Because holding on to pain is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Marcus would say, the best revenge is to be unlike your enemy. And I'd say, the best healing is to recognize you were never broken to begin with. The Inner Citadel, how to build a mind no one can invade. Imagine your mind as a fortress, not one made of stone and iron, but something much stronger. Principle, clarity, and reason. This is what Marcus Aurelius called the Inner Citadel, and it isn't just metaphorical. It's the core of your being that no enemy, no loss, no insult can ever reach, unless you open the gates from within. Every time you react from within, every time you let someone's words dictate your emotions, you're handing over the keys. But if you learn to guard your citadel, to fortify it with discipline and understanding, you become unshakable, not in a cold or distant way, but in the most powerful, peaceful sense, because the truth is, the most dangerous threats in life are never the ones outside, they're the ones we let inside. So how do we build this citadel? First, we need to understand what it's made of. Marcus believed that reason, the ability to think clearly, to examine our impressions, to question our reactions, is the cornerstone. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's not just poetic, it's a challenge, because most people live in reverse. They try to control everything outside of them, their environment, other people, circumstances. But Stoicism flips the script. It asks, what if nothing out there needs to change? What if all the power you need is already inside you? Think about how often we hand over our peace for free. Someone cuts us off in traffic and we let rage take over. A co-worker gets credit for our idea and we spiral into resentment. A friend forgets our birthday and we feel abandoned. But in each of those moments, we are forgetting the citadel. We are letting the world dictate our inner state. And Marcus would say, why? Why would you give the steering wheel of your soul to someone else who doesn't even know where you're trying to go? Building the citadel begins with awareness. When you feel anger rise, when sadness creeps in, when jealousy bites, pause. Ask, what story am I telling myself right now? Is it true? And even if it is it useful? This isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about examining it. Feeling is inevitable, but what you do with those feelings, that's where your power lies. Marcus didn't say, don't feel. He said, don't be controlled by feeling. There's a massive difference. And here's the second layer of the citadel, values. What do you stand for when everything is falling apart? What principles do you return to when the world tests you? For Marcus, it was justice, courage, wisdom, and self-control. Not because they're trendy, but because they're timeless. They anchor you. And when you live by them, really live by them, you become immune to the nonsense that pulls most people off course. You start to see insults not as threats, but as noise. You start to see failure not as defeat, but as data. You start to see pain not as punishment, but as purification. Let me ask you something. What do you return to when the world turns upside down? Is it fear? Is it blame? Or is it something deeper? Something unshakable? That's your citadel. And the more you return to it, the stronger it becomes. Every test is a training ground. Every hardship is a chance to reinforce your walls. And over time, you begin to carry peace with you, not because the world is peaceful, but because you are. Now, this doesn't mean we isolate. The citadel isn't a prison. It's not detachment from others. It's detachment from illusions, from the belief that we must be treated a certain way to be okay, from the myth that other people's approval defines our worth. The stronger your inner citadel, the more open you actually become, because you're no longer afraid of rejection, judgment, or loss. You've built something inside that doesn't depend on anything outside. So the next time life puts you to the test, remember this: you are never powerless. You always have a choice. You can react or you can reflect. You can cultivate. The world will try to tempt you, provoke you, distract you. But if you stand firm in your inner citadel, nothing can truly harm you. Not because you've escaped life, but because you've mastered it. The alchemy of pain. How to turn every wound into wisdom. There's a quiet miracle that occurs when we stop resisting pain and begin to investigate it, not with bitterness, not with blame, but with curiosity. Marcus Aurelius saw pain not as an enemy to be avoided, but as a teacher to be studied. And that shift changes everything. Because when you treat your wounds as curses, they fester, but when you treat them as lessons, they transform. This is the alchemy of pain, the ability to take what was meant to break you and use it to rebuild something stronger inside yourself, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. Tend to think of pain as something that happens to us, but what if pain is something that happens for us? Not in a cruel or dismissive way, but in the same way a fire refines metal or pressure forms a diamond. Pain reveals things we would never see in comfort. It shows us where we're clinging too tightly, where we've built our identity on shaky ground, where we've outsourced our peace to people and circumstances. When we're hurt, we're forced to confront our expectations. And that confrontation, though painful, is often the birthplace of wisdom. Take a moment to consider your greatest heartbreak, the betrayal, the rejection, the silence that haunted you. In the moment it felt unbearable, but look at it now, not with the eyes of the wounded, but with the eyes of the witness. What did that pain teach you? What did you discover about yourself, about others, about life? Did it uncover strength you didn't know you had? Did it make you more compassionate? Did it show you what you truly value and what you never needed to begin with? Marcus wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's not a motivational slogan, that's a philosophical axiom. It means that the very thing you perceive as your obstacle might be your path. That heartbreak, it taught you boundaries. That failure, it redirected your purpose. That loss, it deepened your appreciation. But only if you're willing to look at it through the lens of growth, not grievance. And here's the paradox. The more you resist pain, the more it controls you. But the more you examine it, really sit with it, question it, and learn from it, the less power it has. It becomes a tool, not a tormentor. And over time, you begin to see that no experience is wasted, no suffering is meaningless, unless you decide it is. That's where your power lies, not in preventing pain, but in deciding what it means, in choosing how it shapes you. So ask yourself, what if your worst moments were actually your greatest invitations? Invitations to evolve, to awaken, to become more fully yourself. What if the pain wasn't a punishment, but a portal, a doorway into deeper awareness, deeper presence, deeper truth? You don't have to like the pain, but you can learn from it. You can let it carve wisdom into you, one scar at a time, invincible from within, why your mind is the only thing that truly belongs to you. At the end of everything, when the world strips away your titles, possessions, money, reputation, even the people you love, what remains? Marcus Aurelius believed that only one thing truly belongs to you, your mind. Not your brain, not the organ that sits in your skull, but your capacity for thought, for choice, for judgment. And what makes this so powerful, so utterly liberating, is that as long as you live, no one can take that from you. They can imprison your body, slander your name, shatter your heart, but your mind, if you guard it, remains yours. Always. This idea isn't just philosophical, it's revolutionary. Because if your mind is the only thing that truly belongs to you, then everything else becomes secondary. It doesn't mean you don't care about your family, your career, your dreams. It means you understand that they are gifts, not guarantees. And when you stop clinging to what doesn't belong to you, you stop fearing its loss. That's where real peace begins, not in controlling the world, but in mastering your response to it. Think of how much energy we waste trying to control what we don't own. We obsess over how people see us, how events will unfold, what others will choose, and yet none of that is truly in our hands. Meanwhile, the one domain we do control, our thoughts, our interpretations, our reactions, is neglected. We leave the gates of our mind unguarded and then wonder why chaos keeps walking in. Marcus reminds us again and again, you are not a victim of the world unless you choose to be. You can't always control what happens, but you can always choose how to meet it. That's not passive acceptance, that's radical ownership. That's the kind of strength that can't be faked, can't be bought, can't be stolen. It's forged in the quiet moments when you choose to stay grounded while everything around you trembles. And here's where the truth hits hardest. Most of our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our thoughts about them. Someone leaves you and your mind says, "I must not be enough." You fail at something and your mind says, "I'm a failure." But those aren't facts, those are interpretations. And if you can change the story, you can change your life. The mind, Marcus wrote, adapts and turns to its own purposes. The obstacle to our acting, it can make pain purposeful. It can make loss meaningful. It can make suffering sacred. So I'll leave you with one final question, maybe the most important of all. What would your life look like if you fully owned your mind? If you stopped waiting for the world to be fair, kind, or easy, and started choosing your peace regardless? Because when you understand that no one can truly hurt you unless you give them permission, you no longer walk through life in fear, you walk in freedom, in presence, in power. That's not just philosophy, that's transformation. That's what Marcus Aurelius was trying to teach us all along, and now it's your turn to live it.